Omar made this video, doing business with friends never ends well. This is on the Logan Paul, George Janko beef.
How would you feel?
Apparently, this guy used to be on Logan Paul's podcast, long story short. And they got into some beef a while back. He had to leave the podcast. Him and Mike went onto his podcast to expose some shit and really reveal everything and all of that. Logan Paul responded, shit getting spicy. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to catch up. Let's go.
If a man that has his back completely towards you, that only turns around to grab your dick, talk to your face, and you can't smack or beat the living brakes off of this guy. Because Logan makes me apologize to this man, or I don't have a job on Impulsive anymore.
So yeah, it looks like Logan Paul is a confirmed dick. What's going on, everybody? Look, let's get into the
That's been a thing, though. That's been a thing.
Meat and potatoes of the situation. Logan Paul is back in the news again, and honestly, this time it's taken a much worse turn than some lawsuits about some stuff about his energy drink. He's being exposed now by his friend and former co-host, or hell, former friend and former co-host, George Janko, on the Impulsive show for basically being one of the worst friends in the world and letting him get essayed on their platform. So George Janko had to leave the Impulsive show after being on there for quite some time as a host and friend, because him and Logan Paul have known each other for an extremely long time because of some situations that happened that we're going to talk about. And this caused George Janko to start his own show. And one of the episodes that he made on his new wildly successful show has a feature with Mike, also a host on the Impulsive show, in which they talk about what went down, what shook out of all the situations here. And honestly, Impulsive, the entire cast seems scummy, specifically Logan Paul, because he's not even willing to have a conversation with George about what happened.
I've tried to make peace with them behind closed doors.
Not having a conversation is unacceptable, dog. I can't lie. I can't lie. But motherfuckers' feelings get hurt. Relationships get grimy, so I get it too.
I try to reach out. I try to be cool. Sure. If this was an episode that was you, and what happened to you, and then the whole world thinks that I walked away because I can't take a joke, that's fucked.
Now, mind you, it had gotten so bad that George Janko had to get up and walk off and leave the show, and Mike went running after him while Logan Paul sat there and thought about the only two things that impress him or get his motor running, and that's the money and that's the views. I could never think of being in a situation, even though I'm supposed to be protecting the guests or trying to make the guests comfortable, where my friend is getting essayed, literally steps in front of me, and I can't do anything or I don't say anything. That means I'm totally disregarding my friend's best interest, somebody that I've had a longer connection with than Bobby Lee. And you know, not too much on Bobby Lee, because apparently they had a conversation, they talked about it. It seemed to be a joke gone wrong, but in the moment we're talking about of the podcast being recorded, George didn't feel that way. Mike clearly saw that it wasn't being taken that way. So
yeah, that's the tricky thing about guests, is the whole conversation about who has leverage. Does the guest need you more than the podcast needs the guest? And I will say this, I think it's a mutual thing. It is a collaborative effort. When you come onto someone's platform, bro, just because you're the guest of honor, and even like just coming to someone's house, just because you're the guest in the house does not mean you can just cross lines you should not cross. I'm a keep it a stack. And also, as a host of the house, because I've seen this before, specifically in Filipino households, bro, just because we got a guest going on doesn't mean that you should just bend your back over for the guest and not take care of the people in the household that fucking live there, just because there's a guest. You know what I'm saying? I think that's some scummy shit to do.
So I would only assume that Logan saw the same things and didn't do a singular thing about it. That's the definition of being a bad friend. And honestly, you're aiding in the situation right here, especially when you're dangling somebody's job over their head. That's the craziest thing in the world. Now, if we thought SA was the straw that broke the camel's back, apparently it wasn't, because George still stuck around and he was still friends with Logan. However, things only got worse from George's perspective when Logan started to attack his religious beliefs.
The last straw for me was, Mike, I had to escape. I had to leave for my own feet. When Logan came after me for my religion, the show hit rock bottom and we weren't getting paid. I have a mortgage. I have my sister that works for me. I have Belle. I'm trying to get married. I had all these things. So I had to start my own show because we're not making money on this show and I'm getting pushed out of this show.
Well, at the time we weren't making money.
I can show you my books. I was spending 10 G's a month being on the show.
I don't think people need to know this, or because you probably already know this. Spending $10,000 to be on a show is not how most podcasts work.
And by the way, let's not forget that for a year and a half, I didn't get paid.
How much? What would be the setup for you to spend 10 G's a month to be on a podcast? Like, literally, the only thing I can think of, chat, is let's say Let's Keep It a Book did decide to go in person and it was in Atlanta. If I were to travel to every single podcast from Massachusetts to Atlanta, Georgia, that would be spending $10,000. What? That's crazy. That's crazy.
I didn't get paid for a year. When I got pushed out, and I'm seeing that I'm getting pushed out, and I start my own show, do you know what my final straw was? I got my show going, and then not only was I controlled and pushed around on Impulsive, but then Logan's making calls and directing my show. And I'm saying, hey man, you can't tell me what to do on my own show. That's not okay. He told me that I couldn't take Celsius. This is a guy who's sending a screenshot of $11 million a week that he's making.
Now, before we get too deep in the weeds here, I just want to make it clear. Logan Paul is a successful person. Impulsive right now, as it sits, has 4.61 million subscribers, and they've been collecting AdSense literally since the beginning of the show. It doesn't make sense that he wasn't busting down any sort of revenue or any sort of thing, paying his people some sort of way, and that doesn't even include brand deals or sponsorships or things like that. Now,
I'm gonna keep it a stack, y'all, and this is something that if y'all want to get into this content shit, you really need to take to heart, especially if you're in the tune of being on every single podcast, being a contributing member to every single podcast. Boy, I ain't doing anything aside from percentages. I don't give a fuck if this name is the Joe Budden Podcast. Now, I will say, if you agree that you are paid on salary, hey, you signed on the dotted line. You know what I'm saying? No, up until that point, unless you got what's the word for it? Like forced into it because of external situations, like, hey, you sign on that dotted line. But give me a cut. Give me a percentage. I ain't doing that paid salary, flat salary type shit. But also in content, bro. Also in content, situations like this is why ownership is so key. Situations like this is why ownership is so key. Because I'm breaking the fourth wall right here. A lot of the work when it comes to content, you're paid as a contractor without a contract. You're paid as a contractor without a contract. There's no contracts in this shit. Even if there are contracts, they're probably loosely enforced. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this shit is very cutthroat. You can get cut off the next day if the performance ain't there, and you can't really do anything about it. Like it like what Buck just said, it is a business built on trust. So, bro, when shit like this happens and you put your all into being a content creator without ownership of any platform, without another revenue source that you can fall back on. If you get fired from this podcast right here, you can fall back on going to your own platform. You're cooked. You're cooked. Especially when you don't got ownership in this in a podcast setting or in a channel. You're baked. You're baked. You got nothing to fall back on.
Unless he signed a non-compete clause, which has now been considered illegal, there should be no reason why when George goes to create his own platform, he can't control what he can control. It seemed like they had some sort of brand deal with Celsius that George was able to benefit off of when he started his own podcast. But for Logan Paul to go behind his back and make snake calls like that while simultaneously not paying him, it's just a slap in the face all around.
We never got any money from him, and we own that show. So technically, we should have gotten a percentage of that. I never asked for it like the way you did. I stayed the fuck out of it. I didn't care. I am grateful for what I'm making. I'm gonna go start my own business. But when I come over here, because I'm scared I'm gonna lose my job here, and I go, Logan, I will take half.
I think Logan knew what he was doing too. But before we move on, I think Logan knew what he was doing too. I think getting George and Mike on a salary allows you to control the profit margins. That's the whole purpose of that. You pay George a certain flat salary. You pay Mike a certain flat salary. You get to keep everything on top regardless of how much that fluctuates. And most of the time, Logan Paul is probably going to come out the winner. Now, I will say Logan Paul probably has a bigger case for that because of the fact that he's the bigger draw. The name of the podcast is Impulsive. But nevertheless, again, if I'm George, if I'm Mike, and I'm on this podcast every single fucking day, working my ass off, potting my ass off, I need a percentage. It doesn't even have to be a straight 33 split, because again, we all know who head honcho is on the Impulsive podcast. But give me 25, dog. Give me 20.
The deal. If you want to put it on the table for my show, he says, I won't pay you a dime. You're here because of me. And then I said,
That's
well,
some
what do you want me
ego
to do
shit,
for my
bro.
bills, bro? I got no money. And he says, go have your rich dad pay for it.
Now, look, I'm a firm believer that
crazy.
a man's responsibility, especially when he has a family or he's trying to start a family, is to provide for said family. And it doesn't make sense where George has the possibility to generate thousands upon thousands, hell, even potentially millions upon millions of dollars in a business, and he can't even do it properly because there's this guy that's holding him by the proverbial balls, no Bobby Lee, and saying, hey, I'm going to run whatever you run. You're going to have to get it a different way, even if you own something, even if you're the face of something, even if it's rightfully yours. That's kind of crazy. I really don't care if Prime and Celsius are direct competitors. If he's able to get money somewhere else, why shouldn't he be able to get money somewhere else? Especially if you're not paying him for his services. And look, I'm not surprised about Logan Paul being this type of dude. There's a long history of Logan Paul being one of the worst people on the earth. And I was totally out on him when he did that whole stream with the trees. But to snake your friends like this is a new look.
I mean, from Logan's perspective, Buddy is just an employee, but at the same time, it's cool as fuck. From a business perspective, he is within the right to do what he did, but I think it's scummy because of how they represent the relationship. They represent the relationship as friends doing a podcast. Him, George, and Mike. They represent themselves as friends doing a podcast while simultaneously being business partners. And for you to use that verbiage on your friend, like it would still be cool as fuck if you did that to a random stranger ass employee. You know what I'm saying? But to you to do that to your friend, that makes it 3 times worse, bro. You have proper conversations with your friend, dog.
Low, and honestly, I have no sympathy for him, and I'm always praying on that downfall.
Where did things stand with you and Logan?
I think it was just we had personal issues between each other. And when you go around the world and people are dapping you up, be like, hey, yo, fuck Logan, like that. And I'm like, yo, like, chill. I think the aspect of him being above me in the industry, in his mind, he'll always think, well, he's only sticking around. And so in my mind, I was like, all right, fuck this, I'm out.
This is why they say don't mix friends and business. But I don't agree with that. You know what's crazy? I actually do agree with that. I think you do not mix friends with business. You don't. In an ideal setting. However, it is something that's so much easier said than done in practice. Because even like, let's say you work a 9 to 5, right? Like, my girl tells me stories about, you know, ex-coworker from work. And bro, she's there 5 times a week, 8 hours a day. You're bound to make some friends. You know what I'm saying? Your coworkers become friends. In content, I'm gonna keep it a stack, bro. Like the business, when you're doing shit in groups, is portraying yourself to be friends with X person, is doing collaborations in a friendly manner. You know what I'm saying? Hell, with the Let's Keep It a Buck podcast, I understand we didn't all start out as friends. And I will say, I think the relationships were built off of business primarily. I met Damo in the comment section to start a podcast with him. I met Omar as a collaborator, as a guest on my podcast, and then he became a host himself. Same thing. But when you're doing things 2 times a week, with Let's Give It a Buck now, when we're doing 4 streams a fucking week, talking about everything in the world, not just basketball, you tend to build friendships. So this thing that started off as just business only, we're here to only make money, now we're really close friends. So it's something easier said than done. And also specifically when it comes to content too, even if you're going into it, I really do think chemistry is a big factor in all of this. You know what I'm saying? Your favorite podcast is probably a group of guys that have really good chemistry. How do you build that chemistry? Probably becoming friends first before getting into the content shit. So doing business with friends, ideally you shouldn't do it, but in practice, it's just so much easier said than done.
And when I come back, I'm going to show you I'm stronger and I don't need you.
Now, I will say George has a great mentality, but Logan Paul is going to have something to say. And I'm glad that the internet exists in the way that it does because we can have conversations in real time.
All right, let's talk about this. Obviously, I wasn't on the podcast to represent myself, so I'd like to clarify a few things that were said. As well as having his own credit card, all expenses related to the show were paid for, including all travel and lodging. Obviously, George's total reimbursement came out to $20,000, 317 cents.
The show hit rock bottom and we weren't getting paid. I was getting paid $5,000 a month.
But you did make a sizable amount of money on the show.
And by the way,
say,
always
like,
grateful. I was always grateful
like
for
that?
it. Yeah, I don't like to talk about money.
I know he doesn't want to talk money. I know he bleeped it out, but George made $317,000 in the 15 months that he got paid for.
Damn.
Hey, this is pretty damning evidence. What I
Bro, that shit's real goddamn, bro. That's a good salary. I ain't gonna lie. Yo, 317 as a salary? Come on, gang. Bro thinks he can faithfully edit a short his way out of this. Osmosis is crazy. Oh my god. That osmosis type salary. Nah, osmosis is getting cooked, bro. Wait, hold on.
But George made $317,000 in the 15 months that he got paid for.
Damn.
Hey, this is pretty damning evidence. What I will say about Logan Paul is, based off of the Prime lawsuit that we saw, Logan Paul is always going to come with some facts. And him showing the numbers, albeit while edited, I don't expect him to literally log into his account. But these are some damning evidence. This feels like the Drake and Kendrick beef all over again. I'm loving it so far. And with these numbers, it kind of puts what George is saying in a very shaky light. Now, what I'm really interested in, because I don't care about the finances, how they're interpreted, total misunderstandings, that's perfectly fine. I do want to see how he addresses the situation with Bobby Lee, though.
The work requirements consisted of about 3 days a month, 3 hours each day, traveling the world, networking, and meeting some of the coolest people ever. It comes out to about $2,300 per hour, and he also had 10%.
God damn! 2,300 per hour.
Equity of the entire.
And he had percentages. I didn't know that, gang. 10% is low in my opinion. I think if I'm George, I'm trying to get 20, but
Not only was I controlled and pushed around on impulsive, but then Logan's making calls and directing my show. He told me that I couldn't take Celsius.
yeah, someone got to be lying.
So this is the big one. Making calls, trying to make it seem like I wanted to control his show is absolutely ridiculous. As you can see right here, I was like, hey, we got to get you Prime because I saw him drinking our competitor, and he told me to call him. He was filming my reaction to tell me he took a deal with a competitor. I told him, please don't film. Like, I'd like to talk about this. I hope you're joking, by the way. The truth is, I thought it was a bad look that my best friend and co-host took a brand deal with our competitor without consulting me, asking me, giving us even a chance to match it before he signed the deal, because the audience that he's building, at least at the time, on his own podcast was being funneled directly from the podcast that I was building with him. I said, hey dude, I understand you need to make money. The entire text is right here that I sent him after our conversation.
Damn. All right, let's read it. Totally understand you have to do what you have to do, and I support your decision. I respect the fact that you're focusing on your platform, and I understand you have to pay the bills. I'm sorry impulsive isn't enough for that. Wait. What kind of bills do you gotta pay that 300K isn't enough? I can't lie. Let's start there. What type of salary? What? Okay. Just like you're looking out for yourself, I have to do the same. My business partners and I don't find it appropriate to promote one of our biggest competitors. I'm excited to watch you build your podcast, and when/if the deal is up and you want to come on Impulsive, the invite is open. So it does look like Logan Paul is like, he's being respectful in all of this. I will say, George, he really made it seem like Logan Paul was just cutthroat. Man, fuck that shit. Man, we big Prime over here. Fuck that Celsius shit. Like, he made it seem like that. I'd like to talk about how to move forward with this amicably on social, because I'm sure we can avoid the lame public back and forth and handle this in a mature way that our 8-year friendship deserves. We support you, and we will I'm excited to see you at WrestleMania, my birthday dinner.
Okay, George is getting a little bit ethered right now. This is the thing about making claims when you have evidence out there that exists about you. You gotta know these things exist, man. Again, I'm still not on Logan Paul's side. The money thing is literally the smallest portion of this. When are we gonna talk about the Bobby Lee situation?
There's a lot more. I'm not going to get into it, but this isn't to say, by the way, that I didn't fuck up along the way. I did. I should not have mocked his beliefs. I apologize for that. I should have stuck up for him with Bobby Lee, and I definitely should have had his back more like a friend.
So thank God Logan addressed it, but at the end of the day, my two biggest gripes, money is always going to drive a wedge between friends, but what can make that bond not repairable is the religious beliefs, which is totally crazy, and then the getting essayed and not standing up for him. So it is good that he addressed that, but I think that those are two big nails that even I myself probably couldn't get around. Once you scorned me with money, then it is what it is, but it looks like Logan didn't necessarily scorn him on the money aspect. But this is why I am a proponent of not starting businesses with people that you started off being friends friends with or being family with, changing that relationship dynamic. There should be no reason why you do those things, because you would never want a couple dollars and cents to drive a wedge between that. $317,000 is a lot of money. However, for those guys, it's really not. That's a brand deal. That is so insignificant to throw away a lifelong friendship. However, I do believe mocking the religious beliefs is something worth it. So I'm kind of conflicted, to be honest with you. I hate that it had to unfold the way that it did, but I still think Logan Paul is pretty doggone scummy. Letting him get essayed, there is no reason why that happened. And I see how it was downplayed in the video. Don't think that we never noticed that. Kind of made it seem like there was only one time or two times, but how do you let your friend get essayed multiple times? That's kind of crazy. But let me know what you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I try to avoid business with friends as much as possible for this exact reason. Again, it's just easier said than done. It's just easier said than done, because having chemistry with a business partner does help the business. But right, like, bro, I do think it's also nice that, you know, there is a separation between business and friends too. Just that, period, point blank. You know what I'm saying? Just, hey man, when I'm here, I'm working. When I'm here, I'm working. But when I'm with you, yo, I'm off work. We're chilling. We're vibing. Honestly, we don't even have to talk about work. Like, yo, how was your week? Like, you know what I'm saying? Did you catch the Bruins game yesterday? Like, type shit. You know what I'm saying? But let me check out this video. Apparently, there's a little bit more to the Logan Paul explanation. This is from Kavos. Brody in chat linked it, so.
You can just get away with it going, I should have just been a better friend, guys. There is so much more to talk about than you being a bad friend. I can now see why you focus so much on like a minor thing like George's actual birthday date and really chose to ignore the main thing. So firstly, Logan completely ignores George saying they edited and cut things from the podcast to make him look worse.
The Bobby Lee situation.
Who was the first person that jumped off the couch and said, George just left, that was not good, we have to fix the situation?
But did they not cut that you should have stood up for me and said, hey, you can't cut that That's going to make him look like an idiot for leaving.
This was confirmed by Mike.
We have numerous times on the show, which I'm sure a number of shows.
This is gonna be a selfish reaction to what I just heard, but that's what's so crazy about like the backlash Let's Keep It a Buck gets for now editing their podcast, bro. That is an industry norm. I can't lie, dude. Just editing podcasts, editors are so good that everything feels like a continuous flow where you don't even fucking notice it. But bro, a lot of shit gets edited out, bro.
Shows do cut things that we believe will protect the integrity or reputation of the guest.
That protected nobody but him.
No, of the guest. That's what I'm trying.
Well, what about the guy that you break bread with, bro?
So instead of looking out for your friends, your co-hosts, you will protect the integrity. You will protect the integrity of the guest, even if that means making George look bad. That's fucked up. Logan also conveniently, completely ignores George saying that he was getting sexually harassed by Bobby Lee during that podcast.
By the way, and I'll just say this, we'll just empty it out. I never had a problem with Bobby Lee.
No, he knows that.
I had a problem with the way that Logan and you were kind of gassing him to keep doing. He started the episode putting his balls in my face. I let that one go. Then every 2 seconds, he kept grabbing my dick. I don't think... How would you...
I will say this. I think there's... Yo, Bobby Lee, what's up, bro? What's up? What's up? Like, at this point, we're talking about Logan Paul and George a lot. But Bobby Lee, what's up, though? Nah,
feel if a man that has his back completely towards you, that only turns around to grab your dick,
right,
talk shit to your face, and you can't smack or beat the living brakes off of this guy.
And that after the fact, George left because he simply had enough of how he was being treated. Logan made him apologize, or he wouldn't have a job at Impulsive.
Because Logan makes me apologize to this man, or I don't have a job on Impulsive anymore.
And when George came to Logan with concerns of how things make him look, Logan apparently responded with this.
I looked at Logan, I go, Logan, this is going to make me look really bad.
No.
And he says, I don't give a fuck what you look like. Bro, come on, dog. You were standing right next to me when he said that. Dog, nobody felt safe in that. You don't even feel safe in that.
So yeah, so now you see Logan saying, guys, Bobby Lee, should have been a better friend. Whatever though, it's not a big deal, right? While taking actually zero accountability about the situation is just laughable. Logan watched George getting harassed by Bobby Lee. When George finally has enough and leaves, Logan forces George to apologize to the man, or he hasn't got a job. And then they make the edit worse to favor Bobby Lee and not George. And
I need to see how this video right here is fake though. This shit right here. I need to see what that's fake.
Turned around to George and told him he doesn't give a shit what he looks like to people and his perception.
Diddy Lee is crazy.
So there's so many instances where Logan just could have been a good friend and wasn't. It's just an awful lot you left out there, Logan. Logan also left out the fact that him and Mike told George after that he was only there really for the solo podcast with just the three of them and that he wasn't really supposed to talk to the guests.
You remember when you called me? And I said, Mike, this is all that happens. And you said, verbatim, you said, it's our fault for not telling you this, but me and Logan are really the ones who should be talking to the guests. You are really there for a boys only episode. So while I get sexually harassed, my other co-host is trying to fire me, and you're trying to leverage me to be quiet during other guests. And
I mean, what is that about?
Damn, what the fuck? Yo, I ain't gonna lie, they moving different over there, man. Yo, if Let's Keep It a Buck had a guest on, and one of us pulled another one to the side and say, yo, I ain't gonna lie, gang, take this one off. It's really like a 3-man conversation. Shut your whole ass up. Like, nah. I ain't gonna. That would get out into the public. One of us would have a problem with that. And I will say, as passive as y'all think I am about to say something about that, dog. I can't lie. Yo, say shit, I quit some type shit, dude. Like, Damo's starting a Twitter space. Omar is starting a Twitter space that fucking second. And I'm going to go on a silent, my petty ass, I'm going on a silent boycott. Yeah, figure out this roadcaster. Yeah, pussy.
That is a horrible thing to say to someone trying to do a job as a co-host on a podcast. What makes his opinion less valid than all of yours? So you can imagine how much it pained me when people on Twitter were like giving Logan props. And I get it. People who aren't in touch with the situation are going to watch it. Their recency bias is going to kick in. They're going to forget things and facts. And they're just going to go with the things that look like actual receipts. Logan might have fooled the Twitter bots, but he can't fool us. Leave a like if you agree. Subscribe if you're new. Patreon link below. Thank you for watching.
I guess the only thing we can wait for is George's response to that video. Has George responded to that video? I don't think he has. But I will say this, man. Maybe it's just me. I feel like I can tell when motherfuckers are lying. I don't know. And when they're not. When someone is speaking with too much conviction to lie. You know, I don't. Maybe that's such a head ass, astrology ass take, but the way George is talking, I trust him. I trust him. This didn't debunk anything, either in my opinion. Logan has receipts. He has receipts, but I guess I'm gonna need to see bank statements. I don't know, dog. I don't know. We'll keep an eye out on this. But long story short, man, just the process of doing business with your friends. Just watch out, bro. Just watch out. And protect not only yourself but the relationship that you got with your friends.